Hey, welcome to Journey Online. Thanks so much for watching with us wherever you are. It means a lot that you hang out with us. A couple of weeks before Easter, my family at our little house, we started receiving mail from a lot of churches in our area. Little cards or brochures or whatever, pamphlets that said, hey, come to our church on Easter. And then it was a little sales pitch. Hey, this could be great for you. It's relevant and be just where you are. It's good for your kids. Here's the events we have going on. It was just a little communication piece to say, come on. And it all made sense. They all looked pretty good. Whatever, that somebody in their communications world saying we're trying hard to help people get here who haven't been here before. So way to go for that. For me, one of the things I've noticed when I read the Bible, evidently what these churches have figured out, their strategy, Jesus never understood. He must have had a horrible communications department in his world. He must have missed the little class or whatever that told him, how do you draw a crowd and keep them? Because he often said the craziest things. Matter of fact, the guys around him who wanted him to succeed, who wanted him to draw a crowd, had to cringe when he said some of these words. I'll give you a couple of, for instance. He said this one once, just kind of talking to a bunch of people. If you want to be my disciple, you must, by comparison, so he throws that in, you must, by comparison, hate everyone else. Now, some of you are watching this and you're like, hey, he's talking my language. I can be his disciple because I hate people. I'm sick of people. Yay me, look at me. And he goes on further. He says, your father, your mother, your wife, your children, your brothers, and your sisters. Some of you are like, I'm still in. That would be all on my list. And then he goes further. He says, and yes, even your own life. Otherwise, you can't be my disciple. To which the guys that are following him had to be going, no, don't say that. Nobody's going to follow. What a ridiculous. Now, you don't have to read long to understand that Jesus wasn't saying the goal was to hate everyone else. If you just hate everyone, you can be my disciple. He's saying, listen, if you want to truly be my disciple, you're going to have to make me the most important thing in your life. If you want me to be God, you're going to have to let me be God. It's not that I want you to hate everyone else, but by comparison, I want you to make the most important thing, and it's what will teach you to love everyone else, your father, your mother, your wife, your children, your brothers, sisters, and even learn to care for yourself. But what a horrible PR moment. He also said this, he just pulled this one out of the air one day. He said, foxes, they have dens, birds have nests, but me, the Son of Man, has no place to lay his head. This is the same guy who just a couple days earlier said, follow me, come with me. And then his next step is to go, come with me where? I ain't got no place. I don't have a home. A fox and a bird got a house. I don't have a house. I don't have a pillow. I don't even have like a mattress. The guys around him had to be saying, well, that's going to draw him in. Way to go, sir. He said it obviously for a reason. He was saying, listen, when you come and follow me, we're setting out in a new way to a new place. The life you're going to experience is not the predictable life you've always had. If that's what you want, don't follow me. And then sometimes he said this when I was a kid. This was my favorite. He said, he who has ears, let him hear. This is what I always pictured. Like there's all kinds of weird in that, like as opposed to the people who have no ears. And if they have no ears, saying that to them is just mean. You're just making fun of them. Then, hey, all of you without ears. He who has ears, let him hear. Like this guy, he can hear from the next state. But he doesn't really say he who has ears, let him hear. He says he who has ears to hear, let him hear. His point wasn't the ability to distinguish sound. Some of you, if you're married, some of you will agree with this completely. There's a way that people can hear you but not hear you. There's a way that their audibleness of your voice is carrying across the room if you got kids. Some of you are like, I know you can hear me. But it's not that they can't hear you, it's that they just don't hear you. They don't listen. And he's just saying, you may have the ability to hear, but are you willing to listen? And if that's it, that's the person I'm looking for. And so Jesus, when he had something really important to say, sometimes if he just had I think you need to do something, here's what you ought to do, he would just say, you should do this or do that. And people would be like, okay. That's kind of the way religion works typically. Here's 3 things to do. Here's 4 things not to do. Here's how to do it. Don't go there. Don't say that. Don't do that. Always go there. Always do that. Always say that. Okay. But when he had really important things to say, often what he did is he put them in a different package. He put them in a in a different setting. He would often tell stories. And the purpose was to take the story and let people hear it and let it kind of soften the soil of their heart. Let it break down some of the walls so that they could be confronted with the truth they needed to hear. It was usually, the religious people were like, oh yeah, boys and girls. It's story time with Jesus. But it was just the opposite of that. Usually when he told those stories, what he was doing is he was placing things in front of them that they would take with them, and if they would let it, would impact their souls. The verse says it this way, therefore I speak to them in parables, because seeing they do not see, and hearing they do not hear, nor do they understand. His point was, I want them to understand this, and it's going to take more than me just saying, hey, you're all messed up in this area. They're not going to hear that. You know what they're going to do is go, stop. There's walls already up. And I'm going to put this in a way where maybe we can knock down some of those walls before we go any deeper into that. He used these parables to confront people's default settings. When he talked about things in parables, it wasn't some little nuance in somebody's life. It's saying you've got to learn to think about this in a completely different way. And so he dug in with those. God inspired, Jesus told his audience these stories, and then God inspired writers to include them in the Bible, and he did that for this audience, for the people who are watching and listening to this. It's for you and I. And he did it to confront some of our default settings, some of the things that have become our normals. Here's the question. Do you have ears? Well, yes. Do you have ears to hear? Do you have eyes? Do you have eyes to see? Do you have a heart that is open enough that if God, even today, wanted to confront something in your life, in your world, in your soul, would you allow him to? I think that's all he ever wanted. One of the times he did that, he had this huge point to make that we all need to understand. We need it today as much as they needed it then. And he packaged it in this story. He said there's a dad, and the dad had 2 sons. The younger son did what a lot of younger sons do, somewhere between late teens and 30 or whatever, pick the years. They reach a point, they say, I got to get out of here. Here stinks. I hate where I am. Everybody has either felt this or heard this in their life. I have got to get out. The town I live in literally has nothing to do. I hate where I grew up. I've just got to get out of here to somewhere else. Now here's the crazy thing, that somewhere else you go to, somebody lives there and they're saying on the same day, I hate this place, I got to get out of here and go somewhere else. It's just part of life for a lot of people. He said, he goes to his dad and he says, Dad, I don't know if I got some inheritance coming, but I know this. I can't wait till you die because I think I may die if I have to stay here any longer. I just got to go do my own thing. I got to go my own way. It was insulting, and it was arrogant, and it was bratty, and he needed an incredibly swift kick. But Dad said, okay, and given him a minute, and he accumulated a bunch of stuff. And he said, here you go. And the younger son said, bye, see you later. And off he went. And he did what a lot of people do in their first run through life, or maybe your second or 13th or 15th. He took a bunch and really quickly he kind of squandered that. He made bad decisions. He ended up around bad people doing bad things. People who thought he was all that because he had all of that. And then he ran out of all that, and they said, you're not worth hanging out with anymore. And they went and found somebody else who had all of that. And he found himself beat up and kind of forgotten and very alone and very broke. And so he found himself going to a farmer. He knew how to do that because his dad did that. He said, can I just work for you? And the dad put him out feeding pigs. That's just a nasty job on so many levels. He's a Jewish guy, so it's nasty on that side because it's something you weren't even supposed to touch. It's nasty because they're pigs. It's just nasty because it's nasty. He didn't even have enough money to have food. He found himself eating the food that the pigs ate. But you weren't even supposed to do that because you're kind of stealing the pig's food. And finally, one day, he went to bed and laid there, went to bed being laid on the ground, looked up at the stars, or maybe he woke up one morning and said, "This is nuts. What the heck am I doing? How did I end up here?" By the way, most of us in our life wake up at some point and say, "How did this happen to me?" Whether it's your relationship, whether it's regret over an action, whether it's your finances, whether you thought it would be better when you took that job, most of us go, "Seriously, how did I end up in this?" We've said something that we wish we hadn't said, and we feel stupid about it or angry or hurt, and we just go, "What? What?" And he said, even if I went home to Dad, it would be better than this. Because Dad at least understands, and maybe he would give me a job. So after that, he got it all together. He went and he squandered it on wild living. And then he started saying, "I'm going to go back and find Dad." And I bet he did this over and over because it's what I would do. He said, "I got to go talk to Dad." What's that going to be like? Imagine that one. Hey, old man, give me your stuff. I can't wait for you to die. Just give me the stuff, die whenever. Now I got to go look him in the eye. That's going to be great. He's going to take that. I bet he's like, "Oh, well, I'm glad to see you back." He's going to literally pummel me. But here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say, "Okay, Dad, I'm so sorry." No, that's not it. "Dad, I'm sorry." No, that sounds stupid. "Dad, I'm really sorry." Oh, that sounds corny. "Dad, I'm sorry. I don't even deserve to be. I don't even deserve. Who says even? Dad, I don't deserve to even be. I said it again. Dad, I don't deserve to be your son. I don't want you to. I'm not asking. I don't know how I'm going to say it. Dad, I am so sorry. I don't deserve to be your son. Would you just take me back, not as your son, but just let me be an employee? You're always putting help wanted ads. I know how to work the farm. I know the place. Just let me sleep in the bunkhouse with the boys. I'll just stay out of your way. But it'll be better than Dad, I'm so sorry." And then he made his way back to Dad, walking down the road. Don't you know he went through that? Dad, I'm so sorry. I don't even expect to be. I'm not asking, "Would you please?" And just like I won't even be in there. Over and over. And when he got within about eyesight of the house, all of a sudden he sees someone running his way. Dad's got his robe pulled up so he can run at full speed, and the guy's got to be going, "Oh, shoot," because he's coming out here to literally kill me. When Dad gets there, he's like, "Hey, Dad, I am so sorry." By the time he gets that out, Dad's got his arms around his neck, not in a this way, but in a this way. And Dad says, it's my son." Dad turns around and yells at the employees, "Hey, it's him. Bring me a robe. He stinks. Let's put some better clothes on him. Get some better shoes. Get a ring on his finger. Hey, let's go. He's back. Let's go home. You know what? Fire up the pellet grill. We're having some filet mignon tonight. We're going to party. We're going to celebrate because my son is home." And off they went, and he's back in his room, and he's looking around going, "This isn't as bad as I remember." And he smells the food start cooking, and he gets a shower. That's not the end of the story. It's just the start. Because there's another guy, it's his brother, and he doesn't know any of this has happened. He's out in the field working, and he comes back close to home. And he too is smelly and sweaty from his day's work. And he too hears something going on that he didn't expect. And he asked one of the employees, "What's going on up there?" And the guy must have known what was going to happen. He goes, "Oh, good news, sort of. Your brother's home, and your dad's having a celebration. He said to kill the calf, and we're having a big party for him." That went over well. As a matter of fact, the older brother became angry, and he refused to go in. He goes, "Listen, if you think I'm setting, this is wrong. This is wrong. This is wrong to the 10th power. This is so wrong. I'm not setting foot in that place with that guy. What is my father doing? So he refused, and then the next word said, so the father went out and pleaded with him. The father said, if you'll not come in here, I'll go out there. And he pleaded with him, but that's not such a good thing. But he answered his father and he said, look, all these years I've been slaving. There's no drama in this. I've been slaving for you. And I never disobeyed your orders because this guy's probably never done anything wrong. Yet you never gave me even a young goat for me and my friends so we could celebrate. He goes, I didn't ask for some, great piece of beef. You never gave me a stinking goat for me and my friends. What is up with all of that? But when this son of yours, isn't that a great way to say? That's the way we do it at our house. As our kids have grown up, if they did something wrong, I always be like, Leslie, look what your son has done. She's done that for me. Not my brother. Look, when this son of yours who has squandered your property with prostitutes, just threw that one in. That one has a little extra effect. How does this guy know what he was doing? He just assumed. He comes home and you kill the fattened calf for him. No way, no stinking way. This is ridiculous. He's just going off on his dad. I can't believe you're letting this happen. I can't believe you're celebrating for him. He did wrong and you celebrate his wrong. What kind of parent are you? And for me, who deserves everything and you give nothing. For a lot of you, if you were the dad, you're already imagining what you would do about now or say right now. Listen to how he handled it. He said, my son, you were always with me. He said, listen, you've always been here. To which the son would say, dang right. I didn't leave. I didn't bail. That's right. I've been here every day. You know who showed up and worked his butt off every day? That would be me. You know who's invested in the property and in the business? That would be me. Do you know who's had to do all the grunt work because he left? Me. I'm doing the extra work because he's not here. Yeah, I've always been here with you. And everything I have is yours. The dad goes, listen, literally, you're the heir to everything you see. I could kill a calf for you, but it's going to be your calf because everything I have is yours. But we had to celebrate and be glad. He's almost saying, listen, I couldn't not celebrate. Are you kidding? You know why? Because your brother's home. Because my son has come back. The one who we thought was dead is alive, who was lost, he's been found, and you're dang right I'm celebrating. I couldn't help it. You know why? Because that's just who I am. That's just how I operate. There's some really interesting things to me about the way the father dealt with the younger and the older brother. When you think about it, the father saw the younger son who was a long distance off, way down the road. And you know why he saw him? I know this is pretty simple. Because he was looking. He was looking and hoping for. I don't know if you ever do it when somebody's coming to your house and you really can't wait to see them. It's been a long time and you're getting your house cleaned up and it's about time for them to get there and you start looking out the window, but you still got some more stuff to do. And then you walk by and you look out the door and sometimes you walk out and you're like sweeping out in the garage, just hoping that you're going to see the front of the car, and then finally you do and you're like, that's what I'm talking about. You know why he saw the younger son? Because he had looked day after day after day, hoping to see the silhouette of that kid, of that guy. And when he did, he was moved to the point he was moved. He couldn't stand still. The older brother would go, yeah, that's the way it is for him, but here's the crazy thing. Do you know why the father saw that the older brother wasn't in the party? In the middle of all the celebration, it would have been so easy with everybody coming and going, inviting friends from town, hosting your party. It would have been so easy not to even notice. But you know why he noticed the other brother wasn't there? Because he was looking for the older brother. I think he kept looking out the back door saying, man, I hope he walks in. Where is he? Is he back? It's dark. He should be back by now. Where is he? And you know what he did? He left and went looking for him, and he went and found him and pleaded with him to come in. He was looking and hoping. The same thing he did for the younger brother is exactly what he did for the older brother. The problem is the older brother didn't even notice. He didn't have eyes. He had eyes, but not eyes that could see. Why are you out here pleading with me? And the answer is because he couldn't not care for his older son. Here's the lesson that's wrapped up in the story. Here is the default setting that we need to confront. Here's the reality we've got to deal with is that God doesn't hold tightly to mercy and forgiveness. God, our Father, He doesn't say, listen, I'll forgive, but you're going to pay. You come here. You start with, God, I'm so sorry. I'm really sorry, but I don't deserve. Start with some of that. That's always good. I'm not even asking for you, but I would just take. God doesn't hold tightly. We do sometimes. Let somebody hurt me, and I'm like, I'll forgive them, but they're going to have to take some steps. They're going to have to say they're going to have to say they did. They're going to have to. And we get in this illustration that God, He doesn't hold close. As a matter of fact, He looks for ways to dole it out every day and everywhere. The Bible says when you wake up in the morning, God's mercies are new, and they're not just there. He looks for ways to deliver mercy to people. Say, but that guy doesn't deserve it. Well, duh, that's why it's called mercy. Yeah, but it's not fair because what I've been through, they sure don't, and they haven't, and why would they prosper? And the answer is because God doesn't hold mercy and forgiveness close. He doesn't bankroll it. He doesn't hide it away. He looks for chances to throw it to people who don't deserve it every day. And those people look like those people. And here's the crazy thing, and they look like you and they look like me. God doesn't hold it tightly. Here's the second part. We are quick to explain when it's our issue. God doesn't let go of things accidentally, but He doesn't hold them tightly. The second part is when something happens to me, when I say something that I know I shouldn't have said, and I go, that's not me. And somebody's like, I can't believe you said that. And I'm like, you don't understand. I've been sick for the last 3 days, and I got up at 3 o'clock this morning, or my kid was sick, and we had that, and so called, and I just dealt with that, and I drove behind the world's biggest moron who can't drive, and this happened, and that happened, and my tire went flat, and that's why I said what I did. And what we want is for people to understand when it's our stuff. If you grew up like I did, you would understand. You don't know what I've been through, or you would understand. And we want people to say, oh, gosh, if I'd known that, sure. We want some benefit of the doubt. The problem is we're really slow to do that when it's someone else. What's the matter with them? How could they say that? What's going on? I expected more. Come on. When it's me, there's an explanation. I don't think it makes it right, but if you understood, you would understand. But with others, my expectations are so much higher and so much quicker. And then the third part of this, your mercy and forgiveness cost Jesus. Your mercy and forgiveness. Some of you, your story is like the younger son, and you go, man, I have screwed some stuff up royally. I can't believe that God would ever forgive me. It cost Him a lot, and the truth is it cost Jesus His life. His mercy and His forgiveness cost Him a lot. But then there's others who watch this, and you've grown up, and you've lived a little straighter together life. You've made better choices. You're the person who is really careful not to go there, say that, do that. But sometimes what we feel like is that my forgiveness and God's mercy for me is far less than it is for somebody else. And can I just tell you this? His mercy and His forgiveness cost just as much for you as He did for everybody else. That older brother was like, yeah, you come out here and be nice to me, but that's a lot different. I deserve it. Well, I don't deserve it. I mean, I'm not saying that. I can't say that, but I kinda. And for the group Jesus was talking to, there were people who had been so far away and lived lives so distant from God. But there was another group of really religious people, and they were kind of like, yeah, but forgiveness isn't that difficult for me. And part of the point of this is when it comes to the Father, his forgiveness costs equally, and he offers it equally. That was new thinking. So how do you know if that's needed for you? I did a little checkup. It's how we'll finish out the morning, how we'll finish out our time together. Here's one of the ways you can check up. Is this an issue that my default setting needs to be moved? When you see someone, is there a wrong or a sin that you think about first? It's that thing when you go, oh, you know what drives me crazy about that guy? I remember I met that guy about 5 years ago. I heard so-and-so told me that he and then that they, and I don't know, I'm not saying it is, but I think it is. I just can't stand that guy. I don't know about you, but when I'm around them, when you see somebody, is the first thing you think about the thing that's wrong, the thing that's been wrong? I'm saying if that's you, that's not how God sees people first. He sees people through mercy and forgiveness first. He leads with grace. He sees people based on their potential through Jesus, not based on the wrongs they've done. And for me, sometimes this is me. For me, sometimes I'm just like, oh no, I'd never trust that guy because you can trust me because I've never done that, because everything I've done has always been trustable. When you see somebody, is that the first thing you think about? If so, God, even today while you're watching this, maybe he's hitting some of your default settings. I'll give you a second out of 3. Do you find yourself thinking, I know I'm not perfect, but... It's that moment where you go, hey, I'm not saying I do everything right. I guarantee you, I've got plenty of room to do better. But I ain't like them. I'm not like that guy. You ever have those thoughts? Maybe you use different words, but at least I don't. I had a friend once who was deep in drugs. He came and told me, he goes, Chris, this is killing me. It's overwhelming my life. I'm an addict. And he's struggling with a whole list of things that he smoked or drank or took. And in the middle of it, he's going through all of the things he's done. And then he's going, I'm losing my relationships. I'm broke. I've lost my job. I'm an addict. I can't get away from it. And then right in the middle, he goes, but I tell you what, I've never shot anything. And I was like, okay. For him, that was a line in the sand. Some of you are like, oh yeah, that makes perfect sense. And some of you are like, really? I'm an addict and it's destroying my whole life, but I'm not like them. When you have those thoughts, usually it means God needs to confront something in our hearts, and our default setting needs to change. Because when we view things with that line in the sand, it means we don't view things through the eyes. We have eyes, but we can't see, and ears, but we can't hear. And here's the third one of those. How often is your compassion outrunning your judgment? How often is your compassion for somebody else outrunning your feelings about whatever part of their life? How often do you find yourself seeing people, and it says this about Jesus all the time, he saw them and he was moved with compassion, and it changed the next thing he did. He was really tired and he saw the crowd and he said, go away, bunch of moochers. He was moved with compassion, and instead of that, he sat down and he healed their sick and he held their young and he brought food to them. He was moved with compassion, and look at what happened next. How often is our compassion outrunning our judgment? How often do we find ourselves rolling around bed in the middle of the night, not because we're angry at someone, because we're brokenhearted, because somebody needs Jesus. Somebody needs a friend. Somebody needs somebody to think they're a somebody. How often is that happening? If your answer is like mine, not nearly often enough, then it means I've got a default setting that Jesus wants to change in me. And he wants to say the Father couldn't be still because he loves so much, and because his forgiveness and his mercy wouldn't allow him to just watch it go by, to just let it play out. So I was praying this week And I was thinking about this talk. I used to teach young pastors how to be communicators. Some of you are wondering why I didn't listen to some of that myself as you're watching this, but that's hurtful, so stop it. And we would talk to them about here's things you can do and better ways to study and better ways to present. One of the things I used to say is, listen, if you're going to stand up and communicate the truth of God to other people, you need to carry that as a pretty heavy weight, a big responsibility. We say that to the people who stand up and sing in our churches. If you're going to stand and represent God's truth with the words you're saying, you need to wrestle with those words. And I would tell our young communicators, I would say, hey, listen, don't stand up and speak because it's your turn to speak. Stand up and speak because you've got something you've got to say. Not because you've got to say something, but because you have spent time in that, and it is so deep in your soul that if you don't say it, you're going to burst. And you can hear the difference. Sometimes you hear people speak and they say good words and all that, but you're like, okay. And then other times you hear somebody speak and they're not nearly as eloquent. They're not nearly as slick. They're not nearly as polished. Sometimes we listen to somebody sing and they don't hit every note, but there is something that comes from their soul and you feel it. I don't say it because I got to say something. I say it because I got something to say. And I found myself preparing in the last couple of weeks going, okay, I guess that's a good enough talk. Okay, put a period on that. And you know what I figured out in the last 2 or 3 days is that what I was doing was saying something because it was my turn to say something, not because it's something I had to say, because God hadn't done it in me yet. And the longer I rolled around with this story, the more I recognized that God's mercy for me and his forgiveness for me ought to move my spirit, it ought to move my soul, and it ought to move my feet. It ought to change my life. I need to wake up and look at the world through the potential that God has. Look what he's done for me. How could I not? How could I not give more grace to others? How could I not slow down and appreciate what he's done? How could I not quit making decisions or saying things or doing things that represented him in a poor way? How could I not let that affect my soul? I've been forgiven of plenty. His mercy has been more than abundant. How could I not forgive plenty? How could I not be merciful often? How can I not be the one in my relationships that takes the first step? The father got up off the porch. He was owed everything, and he met them. He went and found them, both of them. They deserved to come to him, but he went to them. And you know what? That's what mercy does. It takes first steps. It doesn't sit and wait. It doesn't pout. It doesn't brood. Mercy looks for a chance to be merciful, and forgiveness just looks for an opportunity to forgive. And that's who I'm supposed to be. And by the way, if that's not moving your soul, then your default setting needs some adjustment. Would you have ears to hear? And let it soften the soil of your heart and let it take root, because that's where the mercy of God deserves to live. Would you pray with me? God, help us with that. Help us become people who deserve so little from you and get so much. And quit looking for all that we deserve from everyone else and offer so much. Would you help us mess up on the side of offering too much mercy, too much grace, and too much forgiveness, so that someday when we stand before you, we apologize because we were so merciful and so forgiving. Let us miss on that side. And for every one of us who feel like we deserve better, whether we're right or wrong, would you let mercy take the first step in our life? We ask it in your name. Amen. Hey, thanks for watching.